I did my homework. I found out that the originator of the technology preceded that German product by about 10 years, and it was a Chinese company. And
Wow.
I don't travel. I don't, if there's not a beach around, I don't like traveling to it.
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Tell us a little bit more, Paul. Where do you, how you end up with that discovery? Because a lot of entrepreneurs, they have this idea, well, you know, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't go and work for anybody. I will figure out everything myself. Well, sometimes it's a very effective solution if you find a job where you can learn the skill that you can apply in your own business. I think that this is really powerful. You're getting paid, and on top of that, you're learning.
So I think my path might be different than many in that while I think of myself as creative and have lots of ideas, I wake up screaming in the middle of the night and write things down.
Me too, I'm creator as well, Paul. We both have the same boat. Welcome to the club.
But
we need more doers.
That's right. You never know when or where ideas come from. And you never know when you have a good one that you'll forget it 10 minutes later if you don't write it down generally. But my path for the last, I'd say 3 decades, maybe longer than that, after doing a lot of, I've had businesses from a retail sporting goods store to service business, software development, various products that I represented for companies.
Wow, Paul.
It seems like a lot, but when you're 74 years old, it's stretched out over time. But one of the things that I found out early on is that the hats you like to wear. Know, just like I said earlier, know to hire the best people. Also know what you want to do and where you get your passion from. Mine was always the sales and marketing aspects. Not very good, I thought, with managing people. I didn't want to really tell other people or worry about whether they were doing their jobs or not. I was very independent. That's a carryover from, I think, the sports that I enjoyed growing up. I'm a tennis player and a swimmer. These are individual sports, not team sports. And I think that carried over into my professional life when I really just relied on myself in more of a sales marketing role. What happened was I worked for a company that had a hardware communications product. And again, I'm not going to bore your audience with the whole life of Paul Barron, but I will say that after developing a software application for a telephone product, which was very successful, I developed a reputation of being some sort of a communications expert in that industry, technically. And so there was a company, after I sold that company, there was a business that was just being formed in Atlanta, Georgia, by 27 graduates of Georgia Tech. That went to school together, and they developed this hardware product. And now they were ready to go to market, and they needed somebody to sell it and find out who the audience would be for this product. And so a headhunter found me and introduced me, and I liked what they were doing, and I joined their firm, and I helped them introduce to market and scale their product up to a point. Now, there was a Russian company that went along with what we were doing, and they went on their own path. Not only did they have the technology that the company I was representing had, but they had a lot more technology involved than just the straight communications. They were into navigation system, and they were into audio and video and all sorts of other really cool technologies at the time. And we traveled the same trade show circuit, where it's just like McDonald's and Burger King, or Pizza Hut and Domino's. We go to a trade show, and they'd be at one booth, I'd be at one right next to them or across the aisle from them. One time, but we became frenemies, so to speak. And politics aside these days, I'm not going to get involved in a political discussion, but I found, and I've worked for companies throughout the world, people are wonderful. It's the governments that screw everything up, but people themselves are generally wonderful. And so at the end of the day, me and this group of Russian entrepreneurs also, we would get together and we'd have drinks, and the stereotype is that they can drink their vodka, and that's very true. So we'd have a couple of drinks, and one time I landed a big account with Motorola, and they said, Paul, you know, and I know that your technology is inferior to what we offer. How did you get that business? And I looked across the table, I looked them in the eye, and I said, very matter-of-factly, well, you're Russian and I'm not. And I didn't mean that disparaging or insulting. What I meant was American companies like to do business with Americans, people who speak their language, who understand the nuances, the sense of humor, as well as the technical jargon and everything else. That sometimes a company or a person from outside America might not come across in the same way that makes the audience comfortable. And that's no reflection on them being good people, good products. It's just the way things are. You know, you want to communicate with people. You know, you have an accent. I enjoy that. I listen to it. I'm sure I have an accent to you. And, you know, you pass those types of things when you have respect for people. But when doing business, sometimes these things have an impact. So let's fast forward a little bit. They made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and they asked me to come to work for them. I did. It was a wonderful relationship that lasted 12 years, from 1990 through about 2002, thereabouts. And I their technology, I landed some big accounts with Apple, with Samsung, many other ones.
Wow.
Did very well for them, did very well for myself. It was a very good relationship. We still exchange Christmas cards every year. But it got to the point that I did everything I could for them, introducing their products into the United States. And now China was coming up in the world stage, and that was more in the same time zone as Moscow. So there was less need for me to represent them in the United States. They were now going on a bigger worldwide stage. So we broke off the relationship very amicably. But in the course of that relationship, I realized that I developed a new skill set. I was able to communicate the value of a foreign company's product to the American audience. And so, again, not to bore your audience too much, but from there, it went to a baby bottle, was manufactured in Austria to reach the use of new mothers and fathers and baby product stores in the US, retail and Walmarts and those kinds of stores. And then there was an Israeli of mine who was a client of mine in the past, developed a media board, communications, and they wanted me to introduce that into the United States. The baby bottle turned out to be a big winner. The Israeli technology turned out to be a real loser, and I told them that there were just better products on the market, and I really didn't think I could help them. Then there was a Chinese headband headphone for children. That was a pretty cool product. And then there was a dog wash from Australia. And I brought all these products to market. I did very well financially with pretty much all of them, except for the Israeli product, which I dropped very quickly. The entrepreneur in me wanted to own something. I didn't want to just be a salesman. So I stopped work. I sold the business, one of a self-service dog wash that was manufactured in Australia. That business was sold to an American company that manufactured that product for me, and I exited that business. And at that time, I retired, and that was, I'd say, probably about 8 years ago. And so I was in my mid-60s. I was retired. I was comfortable, but I'm always looking at things, and things are always finding me. One day, a German company contacted me with a vertical printing machine, a wall printer, although they called it a vertical printer.
Wow.
It was the coolest
Sounds
thing.
amazing.
It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. It printed artwork on walls, big murals, logos, signage, and a nice alternative to the traditional ways that you put artwork on walls, which is vinyl stickers, wallpaper, an artist hand painting something, hanging a framed picture. There are very few ways. That's really the 4 ways there are to put artwork on walls. So it's a market that has an audience because it doesn't have a lot of competition. So I really liked this product. It was very cool technology-wise, and I thought it was very innovative. I've never seen anything like it before. So we started a courtship, meaning that they learned about me, I learned about them. Did we want to do business together? So fast forward about a few months of going back and forth, they said, Paul, we'd like you to come on board. And I said, okay, how much do you want for your company? And so they said, no, Paul, we're not interested in selling the company. We want a salesman, but we'll give you a good commission. So, well, I don't do that anymore. If I see something and I like it, I want to own it. And so, or at least partner and have equity in it. And so the conversation broke down. That was it. They wanted a salesman. However, I hung up the phone with them, or the Zoom, whatever we had at the time. And now normally at this point, I usually call to my wife and I say, hey, honey, come take a look at this product. What do you think? Usually she doesn't, because she knows the entrepreneur in me. She doesn't come and look at what I'm talking about. Instead, she cuts up my credit cards and she changes all the passwords on my bank account, because she goes, here we go, Paul's going to invest in something nuts again.
Before you get excited, yeah.
So this time she came to my office at home and she took a look and she said, boy, that's really a cool product. Never saw anything like it before. Do you think you can do something with that? I said, yeah, I think so. Let me learn some more about it. Is it okay with you if I move forward? And so I got the wife's endorsement, and that's all I needed at the time. And so I did homework. I spent a year on my homework. I found out, once again, the answer to the question. I think I'm a pretty normal consumer. If I see something and I can afford it and it's a solution to a problem I have, I'll buy it. If I for that and I can afford it and it's quality. But here was a product I'd never seen before. And so never heard about it. And so I decided to find out why not. And I did my homework and I found out that in addition to this German company that approached me, there were 4 other companies in the world that made this type of a machine. 2 were in China, 1 was in Australia, 1 was in India. I went through them all again. I'll spare your audience the long journey of my 1 year of exploring this solution, because sometimes it does take time to decide whether or not you're on the right path.
Yeah, especially if it's so unique, right?
Yeah, especially if it's unique and you haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
So new. So I did my homework. I found out that the originator of the technology preceded that German product by about 10 years. And it was a Chinese company. And
wow.
I don't travel. I don't, if there's not a beach around, I don't like traveling to it. So I wasn't ready to go to China to check them out, but I have a company that works for me that goes to these places because I've represented products all around the world, and they go and they kick the tires, so to speak. They check it out to make sure it's not a company that's working out of their garage, that they can actually, if I want to sell hundreds or thousands of these products, I want to make sure that they can manufacture them, they can deliver.
Yeah.
So this company there, they did their survey and they checked all the right boxes. So then we began our courtship and learning about each other to see if we wanted to do business. And I proposed that they let me buy into the company and bring their product to the United States and to North America and to South America and to Mexico and to the Caribbean, all areas that they were not in. They were concentrating pretty much on Europe, a little bit in the Middle East, a little bit in Australia, but they had no desire to go to the Western Hemisphere. And so I said, I'll buy in and I'll do that if we can work it. And we did. So this relationship started in 2019, late 2019. And so I own the entire Western rights to this product. I've developed new products with them since then, not only with this wall printer, but also a floor printer, which I helped develop, which prints artwork onto floors, like logos or designs for like a school logo on a basketball court, or a company's logo in the foyer of their building, whatever. But the wall printer is the primary product, mainly because there are more walls than floors in any room. So the wall printer is a much more popular product. We are now the world leader.
Follow us for more interviews with the world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.